Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Renegade Immortal based on novel. So let's start. The people of the Da Luo sword sect moved quickly. They didn't make any stops and charged toward their destination following Qian Qin's guidance. Along the way, if any beast appeared, the two soul transformation elders would only need to send out a seal and the beast would be turned to dust. Their power was beyond Qian Qin's comprehension. Her own sect spent a lot of effort to get here, and seeing the beasts that gave her sect so much trouble destroyed so easily made her heart feel bitter. At this moment, she thought that this was all fate. If she could get just one fruit out of this trip, that would be enough. As for Guoxingyin, he was very caring and kept trying to talk to Qian Qin along the way. He was clearly trying to repair the relationship between them. After experiencing the power of the Da Lu sword sect, she could only feel helpless and feign ignorance while enduring the humiliation. Along the way, Guoxingyin's uncle master kept looking at Qian Qin's voluptuous body, and his eyes revealed a mysterious light. The group was very relaxed because even if some powerful demonic beasts showed up, the two soul transformation elders would easily take care of them. But in truth, after entering this place, the ones who were most nervous were the two Da Lu sword sect elders. This wasn't the first time the two of them had entered the Earth Northern demonic land, but this time was the most bizarre. At the beginning, when they first entered, they didn't have this feeling, but as they went deeper, a pressure that could cause someone to completely break down slowly surrounded the area. This kind of feeling might have been too faint for the others to feel, but for the two early-stage soul transformation elders of the Da Lu sword sect, this feeling was very strong. It was as if there was a pair of eyes watching them, but when they tried to check with their divine senses, they found nothing. It was like everything was just their own imagination. We haven't gone deep into the mountains, so there shouldn't be any desolate beasts around here. Why is this feeling so clear? Although the two elders looked very calm, they were nervously talking to each other through their divine senses as they trailed behind the group. Maybe something happened here. In these past 10 days, this feeling has constantly been there, but both of us have been checking our surroundings and nothing has happened. I think that whatever it is not targeting the two of us. Forget it. This place is simply too strange. Once we are done with the matter at hand, it is best for us to leave as soon as possible. Every second we stay here is making it more difficult for me to breathe. It's as if there is a large mountain weighing down on top of me. There is even a feeling like I'm about to collapse, lose control, and kill someone. This is a feeling I haven't had since I reached the soul formation stage. The short old man's eyes lit up and then he quickly sent his message. Eh? You also have this urge to kill? When I was killing that beast earlier, I almost lost control of myself. Shifang, there is definitely something wrong here. Should we leave now? The old man named Shi pondered a bit, then he looked at the juniors before them and said, "We have already gotten this far, and there are only 3 days left. There shouldn't be any problems, we just need to increase our speed." The two of them looked at each other. They remained silent and continued to rush to their destination. The people before them, including the soul formation old man, didn't notice the fear that the two soul transformation cultivators were feeling. They continued to feel that the journey was going very smoothly. The brilliant golden fruit isn't meant to be eaten, it is a material for refining treasures. This fruit can increase the power of any metal element treasure, and the more one uses, the stronger the treasure becomes. Rumor has it that the 4 illusionary swords behind Sword Saint Ling Qianhu of the Da Lu sword sect were refined with a large amount of brilliant golden fruits. However, the amount he used was beyond imagination, and that was how he refined those 4 peerless swords. The places where the brilliant golden fruit can grow are extremely unpredictable. The fruit is formed from natural metal element and is a heavenly treasure that can appear anywhere. Once this fruit begins to grow, it looks exactly the same as any other normal fruit, but once it matures, it suddenly changes and is filled with metal element. After it matures, the time before it falls off the tree varies greatly. It can be as short as a few breaths of time or as long as several months. There is no rhyme or reason behind the time it takes for it to fall after it matures, even to this day no one knows. Once the fruit matures, it attracts many metal element beasts, and these beasts become its protectors. The beasts guard the fruit until it falls, and once the fruit falls, the withered fruit's energy is absorbed by the roots, forming golden spirit roots. When a beast eats the golden spirit root, their intelligence is awakened, and they gain many benefits. However, if too many brilliant golden fruits are taken before they fall, the formation of the golden spirit roots is affected. If too many fruits are taken, the golden spirit root won't form at all. After the Da Lu sword sect people left, Wang Lin silently appeared on the mosquito's back. He looked toward where they were going and casually followed behind them. Due to the oppressive feeling that the two elders were feeling, the entire group was forced to move faster, so the normal 3-day journey was complete in 1.5 days. At this moment, Qian Qin, who had been leading the way, pointed forward and said, 2 months ago, Junior's sect found the brilliant golden fruits there. Everyone's gazes followed the woman's finger. This location was where 2 mountains met, and between them was a valley. It was really quiet here, not a sound could be heard, and the ground was covered in leaves that gave off a rotting smell. Following her finger, they could see a faint, golden light coming from inside the valley, but there were many trees blocking the way, so it was hard to see exactly what was inside. After Qian Qin finished speaking, she took a few steps back and remained silent. The 2 Da Lu sword sect elders looked at each other. The taller one took a few steps out, his hand formed a seal, and he pressed his hand forward into the air. A thick amount of celestial spiritual energy suddenly gathered before him and blew toward the valley in a celestial gust. As the celestial gust flew across the area, the rotten leaves all disappeared, revealing what was underneath. All of the trees blocking the view were pushed apart by this celestial gust as well. A straight passage suddenly appeared before everyone. The end of the tunnel led deep into the valley. There was a ton of wild grass inside this valley, but everyone's gazes first fell to the eastern side of the valley. In the middle of an area covered in wild grass, there was a bunch of blooming, golden flowers. There wasn't just one golden flower but an entire field. There was at least a dozen of them, and they were all competing with each other to bloom. Below the flowers were oval-shaped fruits the size of a thumb. These fruits were golden and had countless granular spots on them. From a distance, they looked like grapes. They seemed very ordinary and not different from normal wild fruits. Brilliant golden fruit? It indeed is the brilliant golden fruit. The 2 elders' eyes immediately lit up once they saw the fruits. The 2 of them didn't immediately enter the valley but carefully checked it. Finally, their gazes landed on a bush of wild grass 1 meter from the brilliant golden fruits. There was a small pile of rotting leaves on top of that bush of wild grass. At first glance, there was nothing unusual about this. After all, these rotting leaves were very common here. At this moment, a strange wind blew through the valley, causing the grass to rustle. The grass rustled and all of the leaves inside the valley were moved by this gust of wind. However, it was these leaves flying into the air that caused everyone to suck in a breath of cold air. At the moment these leaves flew into the air, what was revealed on the backside of the leaves were countless red spots. Their red dots were motionless, it was as if they were growing from the rotting leaves. 9 multitude bug, the tall elder named Shifang said this with a gloomy expression and then looked toward the short elder. 100 brilliant golden fruits would naturally have fierce guardians. Having 9 multitude bugs here is nothing to be surprised about. However, dealing with these bugs requires bait. The short elder's eyes lit up as his gaze landed on Qian Qin and the white-robed man beside her, and he revealed a cruel smile. At this moment, no one noticed that a ferocious figure was floating 1,000 feet away from them, and it was watching them. On the back of the ferocious figure sat a person with an ice-cold gaze. His gaze was so cold that there was no hint of warmth coming from it. This is clearly the golden spirit root. What the heck is a brilliant golden fruit? I guess these people don't really understand how to use this treasure and believe that the fruit is the essence. They don't realize that compared to the golden spirit root, the fruit is really insignificant. Wang Lin's eyes lit up. Although the brilliant golden fruit sounded unfamiliar to him, after seeing it, he was able to find it inside 2 size memories. This treasure was formed from the natural 5 elements, so it has existed for a long time and would naturally be in 2 size memory. The best way to use it was to devour the root. This would make his body even stronger. For a child ancient god, this treasure was a rare nutritional supplement. Wang Lin was pondering when he suddenly looked down at the mosquito beast. At this moment, there was a faint, milky white light coming from the mosquito. Its gaze was locked onto the brilliant golden fruits in the valley and revealed an expression filled with desire for the fruits. Wang Lin had an idea and then patted the mosquito's head. The mosquito turned around, and after seeing Wang Lin nod to it, its eyes quickly revealed an excited light. It quickly turned around and stared at the brilliant golden fruits. This time it revealed a must-have gaze. Could this fruit have some special use for the mosquito? Wang Lin's eyes faintly lit up. The two Dalu sword sect elders looked at each other, then the short elder suddenly reached out with his hand. The man in white next to Qian Qin exclaimed, and his body was thrown into the valley by an invisible force. Just as he was thrown into the valley, a sharp sound that could pierce the heavens echoed within the valley. In the blink of an eye, a large amount of red dots came out from the rotting leaves covering the valley and began to gather. From a distance, this sight was terrifying. Senior apprentice brother. Qian Qin suddenly turned around. She looked at the people of the Dalu sword sect and shrilled, "What is the meaning of this, senior?" Just as Qian Qin finished speaking, those countless red dots began to move. The red dots gathered to form a giant, red cloud, then it began to emit a loud buzzing sound and moved toward the white-robed young man. Its speed was simply too fast. It moved like a red lightning bolt and surrounded the white-robed young man. At this moment, a scene that shocked everyone but the two elders to silence unfolded before them. The countless red dots broke through the white-robed young man's clothes and dug into his body. In just 3 breaths of time, his white robe was blood red. Bursts of terrifying screams and shrills came from his mouth. The intense pain caused him to keep scratching himself, and bone-deep cuts appeared all over his body. His body struggled and rolled violently in the valley. His eyes revealed a deep sense of despair and unimaginable hatred. Senior apprentice brother, Qian Qin trembled violently and revealed a pitiful smile. At this moment, almost all of the red dots in the valley appeared and entered the young man's body. His eyes slowly dimmed and his miserable screams slowly weakened. This happened extremely quickly, but it was very shocking. It caused everyone's expressions to become very ugly. Today's matter was caused by me. If Qian Qin's senior apprentice brother hadn't died, then it would have been fine and there wouldn't be a grudge between us. Yin Shaoqing looked toward Qian Qin with killing intent. As for the other woman, the one who called Guo Xingyin, senior apprentice brother, her face was pale, her small hand covered her mouth, and she looked like she was about to puke. Her body was trembling, as she was clearly terrified by what just happened. Only the blue-robed man who was always praising Guo Xingyin didn't show any sign of discomfort on his face. Instead, when he looked toward the valley, he had an intoxicated expression. The Dalu sword sect Shifang smiled at the short elder and said, "It looks like the two of us don't have to kill anymore. That one person has already lured a majority of the 9 multitude bugs into his body." The short elder smiled and said, "Brother Shi is better with restrictions, I hope you won't hold back. Once we obtain the brilliant golden fruits, we still have to report back to the sect." Shifang laughed. Without a word, he slapped his bag and a red jade appeared in his hand. His right hand took the form of a sword as he pointed at the jade and said, "Sword seal restriction, open." With that, the jade immediately began to buzz and then flew into the valley as a ray of red light. When the red jade flew into the valley, the buzzing sound became even louder, and strands of red silk came out from the jade. Then, after a pause, there was a thunderous roar, and the red jade began to move in a mysterious fashion. In the blink of an eye, the speed of its movement increased until it seemed to have melted into countless strands. These countless red strands charged toward the young man that was barely struggling. The red silk moved extremely fast and arrived before the young man in the blink of an eye. The red silk didn't enter the young man but instead intertwined together to form a net, which surrounded the young man and the ground several feet around him. At this moment, the Dalu sword sect elder, Shifang's, eyes lit up and he shouted, "Seal!" With the word, "seal," the red net began to emit a red light. There was a series of crackling sounds as countless rays of red light appeared all over the red net, forming a very powerful seal. After finishing all of this, the short, Old Elder immediately walked into the valley. Just as he entered, sound came from the leaves and red dots appeared from them. However, there weren't many of them this time. The short elder's expression was normal as he raised his right hand and flicked his finger. Every time he flicked, he sent out a ray of sword energy and a large amount of red dots were destroyed. In truth, if there were a few more nine multitude bugs, it would have been very difficult for him to handle them, but now that there weren't many left, it looked like it was very easy for him to deal with them. The Da Lu sword sect Shifang flew into the valley. With his help, the remaining bugs were immediately destroyed. The third person to enter the valley was Guoxingyi's uncle master, and after him was everyone else. As for Qian Qin, the anger on her face had disappeared, and what remained was a terrifying calmness. After the short elder threw out the last ray of sword energy to destroy the last remaining nine multitude bug, his eyes lit up and they landed on the field of golden flowers. Lu Songyi, go pick those brilliant golden fruits. The short elder's voice was filled with a, no one can disobey me, majesty. Lu Songyi was the soul formation old man. After hearing this, he immediately nodded and was about to harvest the brilliant golden fruits. However, just at this moment, a gentle gust of wind entered the valley. At first there was nothing abnormal about this wind, at most it just rustled the leaves on the ground. However, when the wind landed on the two elders, their expressions changed greatly. Shifang suddenly turned his head, and his eyes lit up as he looked toward the outside of the valley. The short elder's face was gloomy. He placed his right hand over his bag of holding, and his eyes were filled with killing intent. Their movement suddenly changed the entire atmosphere in the valley. There was now a killing intent surrounding the valley. As a result, the old man named Lu that was about to go harvest the fruit suddenly stopped and revealed a shocked expression. As for the other people, they were all the same. Only Qian Qin's eyes were calm as she looked at the body of her senior apprentice brother that had already died. It was as if everything happening around her had nothing to do with her anymore. Shifang pondered a bit and then shouted, fellow cultivator that just arrived, there is no need to pretend or hide. I'm one of the Da Lu sword sect's elders, Shifang. I wish for fellow cultivator to come out to speak. The two elders looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. At the moment that wind came, that feeling from before increased several-fold. At first it felt like there was a fierce beast far away, but then in the blink of an eye, that fierce beast was before his eyes. This drastic change immediately caused the two elders' hearts to tremble violently. A thick mass of grey gas came toward the valley. The grey gas was so thick that no one could clearly see the person inside. The grey gas stopped outside the valley. The moment the grey gas appeared, Shifang's expression became extremely ugly. The short elder's face was gloomy and he said, word for word, sir, you are. When he finished speaking, he didn't wait for a response. He let out a roar, his right hand touched his bag of holding, and a bronze mirror appeared in his hand. The mirror was thrown into the air and suddenly grew to 3 feet wide. It released a green light that surrounded the grey gas. At the moment the short elder threw out the mirror, Shifang, who had fought with the short elder for a long time, meaning their cooperation was very good, formed a seal with his 2 hands without any hesitation and the treasured sword on his back flew into the air. The sword floated vertically above his head, and the illusion of a large sword appeared behind him. Shifang shouted, chop! At the moment 2 elders attacked, the soul formation old man, Lu Songyi, moved like lightning and quickly charged toward the brilliant golden fruits. He had cultivated for a long time and knew how to seize the moment of opportunity. Because he was already close to the fruits, he arrived there in the blink of an eye. The light from the bronze mirror was like a restriction that surrounded the grey gas. At the same time, Shifang's sword closed in like it was from the peak of the 9th heaven. Before the sword even closed in, there were already sonic booms from it breaking the sound barrier. The Da Lu sword sect was famous for their swords, so the power of their swords couldn't be weak. However, at the moment the sword energy descended, the grey gas suddenly moved. This movement was like 10,000 horses charging, like a tsunami that was sky-high. In an instant, the grey gas charged through everything and surrounded the entire valley. Along with this charge, there was a cold voice that came from within the grey gas. How could the light of a firefly compete with the bright moon? This voice was extremely cold, and the moment the voice landed on everyone's ears, it caused them all to shiver. The green light surrounding the grey gas immediately collapsed into countless rays of green light before dissipating. Cracking sounds came from the bronze mirror in the sky before boom. The sword energy Shafang had struck out broke. The two Dalu sword sect elders both almost coughed out blood at the same time as their bodies exploded backwards, leaving behind deep footprints in the ground. Every footprint they left caused the ground to tremble slightly. As the grey gas spread, one strand of it shot out like a sword. Its target wasn't the two elders but the soul formation old man, Lu Sengi, who was trying to secretly harvest the brilliant golden fruits. Lu Sengi's expression changed greatly. He knew that couldn't move in time, so he began to teleport. He knew that teleporting here was very dangerous, but at this moment, he couldn't worry about it too much. His figure began to distort and was about to disappear. However, a cold snort came from within the grey gas as it was charging at him. After the snort, the grey gas suddenly closed and broke through the distorted space. In the blink of an eye, it charged through Lu Sengi's body just before he could teleport away. You? Lu Sengi's expression changed greatly and he was about to speak, but his body suddenly trembled and began to expand like a balloon. This scene was simply too strange. Lu Sengi's body reached its limit before boom. A Dalu sword sect soul formation cultivator was forced to explode just like that. Bang bang bang. The sound was still echoing inside the valley while a large amount of flesh and blood rained to the ground. A faint blood mist slowly surrounded the area. In the blood mist, a figure wearing purple slowly walked into the valley. This person had long hair that was casually flowing behind his head. His face wasn't handsome, but he gave off an out-of-this-world feeling. On his finger there were two rays of grey gas moving around like two small dragons. On his waist there was a purple token with the word 7 carved onto it. Wang Lin's appearance caused the entire valley to become completely silent. Guo Xingyi's face was completely pale without any trace of blood, and his body was faintly trembling. His right hand clenched onto his sword until his fingers went white. His junior apprentice sister revealed a look of terror. Finally, she wasn't able to stand it anymore and so she knelt down to puke. Her face was extremely pale. As for the blue-robed young man who didn't seem to be from the Dalu sword sect, he looked even more intoxicated than before as he took a deep breath of this air that tasted like blood. Aside from the three of them, the woman named Qian Qin revealed an unsettling and struggling expression. This junior's cultivation and mentality weren't strong enough to be comparable to the two elders. Although the two of them had their hearts shaken up and realized that things had gone south, their expressions were calm and only a bit ugly. Wang Lin's expression was calm as his gaze swept past each of them. Then his hand randomly pointed at the air and strands of grey gas came out from the scattered flesh inside the valley and quickly gathered together. A big cloud of grey gas was formed and quickly moved toward Wang Lin's finger. A large amount of grey gas gathered toward Wang Lin's finger to form a ball at his fingertip. The ball was very cloudy and contained a mysterious force, so when one looked at it, they couldn't stop themselves from staring. Wang Lin's eyes were calm as he casually squeezed his finger. There was a fluctuation of energy coming from inside the ball, causing it to shrink until it was only the size of a fingernail. Wang Lin grabbed it with his hand, and when he opened his hand, the grey ball of gas was gone. The Dalu sword sect Shafang looked at the token on Wang Lin's waist before saying, word for word, Heavenly Fate Sect, Purple Division 7th Disciple, Wang Lin. Wang Lin withdrew his hand, then he looked at Shafang and said, answer one of my questions and I'll let one of you go today. Shafang began to laugh as if he had heard the funniest thing in the world. His right hand formed a seal and pointed at the sky, then a powerful sword energy came from the sheath on his back. The sword energy was green, and it ascended into the sky. Shafang sneered, Wang Lin, although you are a mid-stage soul transformation cultivator, with the two of us at the early stage along with our sword treasures from the sect, even if you were to kill us, you would be seriously injured. Let's see how you will go to the Eastern Demonic Spirit Sea when it opens in 1.5 months. He had already heard rumors of the list of people chosen to enter the Eastern Demonic Spirit Sea. He heard that the newly accepted Purple Division 7th Disciple was one of the people chosen. Now that he had seen Wang Lin, he decided to gamble. He gambled that Wang Lin wouldn't dare to casually act against them because they both could retaliate in full force and end up injuring him. This would mess up Wang Lin's trip to the Eastern Demonic Spirit Sea. The short elder hadn't spoken a word since Wang Lin appeared, but his eyes had been locked onto him. Now that he heard Wang Lin's words, he secretly realized that something was wrong. According to his observations, this person was not one to do things without carefully considering them beforehand. Rather than wasting time talking to this person, he would rather they team up and take this chance to attack now. Their chance of winning against a mid-stage soul transformation cultivator with two early-stage soul transformation cultivators was already not high. The short elder clenched his teeth, and without a word he began to move. He slapped his bag of holding and a blood-colored flag appeared in his hand. With one wave, a blood mist came out from the flag and immediately covered his entire body. Accept your death. The short elder let out a shout as his hand formed seals and he viciously sent out his palms. Several bloody palm prints that carried the smell of blood suddenly appeared within the blood mist and shot toward Wang Lin. At the same time, the short elder bit his tongue and spat out a large amount of essence blood. The color of this blood had a hint of gold, and after he coughed out the blood, he began to chant. He chanted like a ghost, making it hard to hear, but a mysterious force suddenly appeared as if it had descended from the heavens. Heavenly Ghost Devour. After finishing the chant, the short elder's eyes lit up. With a loud shout, the slightly golden essence blood began to move in a mysterious way, and in the blink of an eye, it disappeared. At the moment it disappeared, a 100-foot-tall illusionary head suddenly appeared behind the short elder. This head was very big and it was greenish-black. There was no hair on the head, and it looked like a vicious ghost. Although the head was illusionary, it looked corporeal and gave off a cold aura. The moment the head appeared, it let out a roar and flew out from behind the short elder and charged toward Wang Lin. The short elder shouted, "Attack!" Shifang clenched his teeth. Without a word, his hand formed a seal and slashed down. The sword behind his back let out an earth-shattering sword him and suddenly charged toward Wang Lin like a vicious dragon. At the same time, Shifang still found that their chances were not good, so he spat out a mouthful of essence blood. Next, he sat down in the lotus position and caught his essence blood at the center of his palm. Then he let out a roar and slapped it on his forehead. With a thunderous thud, Shifang's body trembled, and a ball of green light came out from his forehead. In the green light, Shifang's origin soul suddenly flew out, then he opened his mouth and blinding, green light shined from his mouth. The green light turned into a sword as long as a finger with a willow leaf carved onto it. His origin soul entered this sword and quickly chased after the sword energy he had just sent out. Accept your death. The two early-stage Da Lu sword sect elders were already fighting with all they had. Wang Lin's expression was calm as he stood there, and his gaze remained the same. He took one step, raised his hand, pressed at the air, and black light appeared on his fingers. Finger of death. With one finger, tens of thousands of souls die. With one finger, all of the grass in the valley turned brown, and even the already withered leaves began to collapse. They weren't just collapsing on the outside, even the roots collapsed. The several bloody palms that were charging toward Wang Lin now collided with his finger, and without any pause, they all immediately collapsed. However, if they had just collapsed, then it wouldn't show the true power of the finger of death. The blood print that was breaking apart was slowly retreating, but before it was able to retreat far, it was immediately pulled back toward Wang Lin's finger due to the power of the finger of death. This scene happened extremely fast. From the outside, it looked like when Wang Lin's thumb had pressed down on the bloody palms, they were absorbed by his thumb, and it now had a blood-red color. After absorbing the power of the blood palm, Wang Lin's eyes became even colder. Not only did the thumb not stop, it moved even faster. Wang Lin bypassed the sword energy from Shifang and then immediately pressed his thumb down between the brows of the ghostly head. The ghostly head's eyes released a ghostly light, and at the moment Wang Lin's thumb arrived, it opened its mouth and swallowed Wang Lin's thumb. Eh? Wang Lin's eyes lit up and he let out a smile. Since you want to devour, then I'll let you devour your fill. With that, Wang Lin's thumb began to glow red as he pushed all the power he had absorbed from the bloody palms into the head. At the same time, a sliver of the destructive force from the finger of death that could destroy everything entered the head as well. The ghostly head immediately began to expand. A cry came from the head as he immediately began to retreat, but he only retreated 30 feet before he exploded with a bang. The short elder's life spell was broken, causing his face to immediately turn pale and cough out a large mouthful of blood. His eyes are filled with terror as he turned around and ran without any hesitation. He was truly scared. He once used this heavenly ghost devour spell against a mid-stage soul transformation cultivator. Although that mid-stage soul transformation cultivator was able to break it in the end, he was in danger the entire time. But Wang Lin was able to break it so casually, how could he not run? Part 1 end here.